So Harlem, it's great to see you. Hey, you've got a new ring entrance all ready for the Saturday, right?
I've had that one in the locker for a while, but I guess they haven't designed the rings so that I can do it on fight night yet, which is disappointing.
I was thinking, how do you pull that off? You're either gonna need a raised platform or some kind of ramp. Can you
Yeah,
get
you just
that
need
done?
a. I think you just need a ramp, but don't know. I'll have to speak to some people and see. But yeah, I hadn't even done that for years, and they requested it upon filming, so I pulled it out of the locker. A
And do you know
party
what?
trick.
Do you know what? Do you know what? When I first saw it, I was like, yeah, the guy's just forward rolled into the ring, big deal. And then I thought, actually, the mechanics of that is pretty tricky. Like, and I could see, like I could see
Uh,
myself face planting through the bottom ropes.
You got to try it out, Tris. You got to test it out for yourself and see.
Hey, last time I did that, I was in the Ingle gym in Sheffield, and Dom said, "Oh, I see you've been doing some high box jumps, like some explosive box jumps in the gym. Like now you
Yeah.
need to jump into the ring." And of course, Dom's there. He's got Kid Galahad and everyone surrounding me, and he's like, "Jump, jump!" And I'm in jeans and bloody a pair of black
Yeah.
shoes. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And I bloody shinned it, didn't I? Right on the
I know.
shin.
See, they played with you. They didn't give you a warm up. They didn't.
No,
They were all
exactly.
used to doing it before. They
Yeah.
they they threw you in the deep end.
Yeah. But that's never gone wrong for you then, that one.
No, that to be to be honest, I've done it about 5 times, but it was the combination that we was kind of redoing. The flip is kind of like second nature. It's easy for me. It's just I can kind of pull it out at will.
That's wild, mate. That's wild. Try and do it 10 years from now, mate. I'm telling you, you'll break something. So so when this fight with Jack was announced, for me it sort of came out of nowhere, right? We've been talking about you possibly, if you fight anyone big domestically, it's going to be Azim. That everyone sort of had that eye on. It didn't happen, was going to happen, didn't happen. So everyone sort of thought maybe we'll get to that in the end. And now Catterall sort of almost come out of nowhere. Is that how it was for you?
Well, the performance against Tyrone McKenna in Brighton, great night, and the performance and the finish meant that um, we could go bigger and better. And Jack Catterall was, he's been campaigning at world level over and over again, and more often than not, beating those guys up there pretty convincingly. So the fashion which I won in my homecoming fight in March meant that we could, reach for the guys at the top, and that is Jack Catterall. And to place myself at the top of the sport, these are the guys that you have to beat. And yeah, I welcome that challenge with open arms.
And that will do it, right? With the scalps he's taken, and obviously, the Barbosa fight was close. Like a win over Catterall does put you up there, right? You'll be ranked in the top 10 with everybody, I guess, if you scalp him.
That's right. Not only the top 10, but it should rank me very high up in that top 10 as well, and put me on the verge of a world title shot. And that's what I'm in the sport for.
Do you prefer it to the Azim fight stylistically, or do you prefer it to the Azim fight? I know Azim wasn't on the table, I'm not saying that, but do you prefer this in terms of a big breakout fight? Do you prefer this stylistically, and do you prefer the fact that it's Jack Catterall who's more of a proven entity at that level?
Yeah, it's a much higher level fight. It's a more difficult fight, and a fight that will place me at the top of the sport, and that is something that really excites me, because I've been waiting for a big opportunity to show people what I'm capable of for a long time, and this is the fight, this is the opportunity, this is the standard. Um, this is world class, world level boxing, and yeah, this is the type of fight that I've been building up to for the last 11 years.
What's your assessment of his style? Before I think it was before the Barbosa one, Matchroom did he's boring, had advert, they did the commercial saying, he's not actually boring and all the rest of it. Do you assess him as a negative fighter, or do you appreciate his skill set?
Yeah, I don't know why they done that promo. I have no idea because you know the guy, he's an upright guy. I don't know why they're trying to brand him as so boring, but the promo didn't help. Um, but listen, it's not about it's about going in there and winning and coming out victorious. His style, it's here nor there in terms of, my objective is to go in there and beat the man by any means possible. Um, how his style looks to kind of boxing fans or whatever is pretty irrelevant to me. The goal is to go in there and come out victorious by any means.
Are you expecting a certain type of fight?
I know what it's well known what he likes to do. His preferred style that he uses. But we can't forget he's a well-rounded fighter. He's experienced, um, and he can do a multitude of things. He just prefers sometimes to stay in a certain phase. But we're well prepared, and um, we know that he's capable of doing other things as well. And we're prepared for everything that he might um, come with on the night.
Do you think you're a bigger puncher than him?
I mean, the common opponents we've shared would suggest so, but um, again, it's not going to make a difference. I don't think in the fight. He can punch. It's well documented that he has that in his arsenal. He can punch with both hands, and I can punch with both hands as well. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a defining factor in the fight. But yeah, I know that I know his skill set, and I believe that when I'm on my A game, that I'm a superior fighter.
You touched upon the Tyron McKenna fight, indicating that you were pretty happy with how that went. The fight before was not your best. What changed from that fight and the McKenna fight? Are you at this stage in your career where you've got to get up for fights and you need that sort of danger and stuff
No,
for
it's
the
just it's not that. It's just people, the politics of the sport. People can try and ruin your career almost, keeping you out of the ring, trying to play political games. Um, I've always been the type of fighter. I'm ready and willing for the biggest and best challenges in the sport. So when people play games, keep you out of the ring for so long, and you're training at a maximum capacity, it it affects you. You become worn out, and um, you leave everything in the gym, and yeah, we've moved past the political agendas and games now, and I showed that in a statement performance in my second homecoming fight against Tyrone, and now we're ready to build on that, keep the momentum rolling, and take on the best in the sport. And we believe Jack is one of them, and this victory will propel me to fight some of the biggest names over in the US
Hey,
and line me up for the world title opportunity as well.
tell me about Coach Charlie and your relationship with him over the years. Obviously, I'm more than familiar with seeing him around
Yeah,
and about, but you've been with him for years now.
yeah, yeah. Pretty much, I've been training with him since the start of my pro career, really. And he's a great guy, um, a role model. We share, a strong belief, strong faith, and we apply ourselves each and every day to go to the gym and get better. And people are starting to see that in the performances now, that those developments. People see a quick switch change, and you know, think that you're doing something different, but it's just the the build up of work over the years. You know, boxing, it's not there's no overnight successes. It's all the work that's been done behind closed doors over the years with no applause. Um, it's the grind behind the scenes that takes you to that place of becoming a better fighter and going on to fight at world level. And this is the process that we've both been through, and it's been great to share it with him and to yeah, I appreciate the amount of work that he's put into developing me as a fighter, and in doing that, he is, I believe, one of the best coaches in the UK.
Hey, you talk about the grind, right? And obviously I fully respect and appreciate that, and repetition is key, and you got to get your, just in terms of layman's terms, you got to get your 10,000 hours in and all the rest of it to become anywhere near an expert at this stuff. Like you've got to do stuff over and over and over again. You can't
Yeah.
just copy off Instagram and stuff. But in terms of that, did your dad or want you to fight? I don't think we've talked about this before because obviously, after Chris Jr. fought recently, that video resurfaced of
Mm,
Lennox having it out with Chris Sr. saying,
yeah.
you should let him fight, and they were talking about the risks and that. Your dad obviously had a very different career to Chris Sr. Was
Yeah.
he like, don't touch that, son, or was he like, do what you want to do?
I think he still, I think he was more kind of left it to me. He never, he never really opened the door for me to go into boxing in the sense that um, he never like promoted it to me as something to do, or never kind of pushed me in that direction. Um, I was always into other sports, and it it almost it came at the point where I had to ask him to come to the gym with me, and he stuck me on the jab for like 3 sessions, and I'm like, yeah, can we throw something else now? But he obviously, they have that kind of old school, drill the basics and try and implant that into you. But yeah, he never pushed me into it. But he loved boxing, despite his experience in the sport, because it wasn't a good one. Um, and there's two sides to boxing always. There's the illustrious side, and there's the side where people don't achieve success in the sport, and sustain damage trying to do that. Um,
You can tell though, like you can tell obviously even I've seen some of his fights from back in the day, but you can tell even by looking at his record he can fight. You don't beat Sugar Gillabrew and you can't fight. Like there's margins, and also the thing is as well, like when you talk about the business, there's the politics. Like he didn't get an easy run of opponents. Like there's big
yeah,
name after big name after big
yeah,
name. Like had he come along, in Chris's slipstream and his name
yeah.
was more valued, then he would have been in that red corner instead of the blue.
That's it. Oftentimes as well, you're getting notified a few weeks before to fight, and when you look at the record, there's like very, very close decisions, and we know how the game is in terms of if you're with and backed by the promoter. It's when you watch the fights, and I mean a lot of the tape and stuff isn't available, but I'm sure by the politics and how close a lot of those fights were, and the fact that my dad was on the rough side of the sport. Um, he could definitely fight. He definitely had talent, and my uncle, my uncle reinforces that, and
Yeah.
and tells me how good my dad was, and how he was mistreated in the sport.
Yeah, and I suppose does that does that open your eyes, or do you know the business well enough to have your eyes open already? Because obviously, being the second generation, you can learn from your dad, you can learn from obviously senior, and you've obviously got um junior who's been around the block already and sort of fallen out with most of, if not all of the promoters at some point or other. So, like, are you well aware of the pitfalls of the business, and have you been since the start, or have you learned some harsh lessons along the way?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot along the way. I've had around 10 years of experience as a professional. So I feel like I've learned a lot as I go. You know, you come into the sport fresh and you think it's full of opportunity and it's full of people that are trying to help you up, and you soon
The streets are paved with gold.
you soon realize the reality of boxing. You
The
soon
streets ain't
realize the
paved with
reality.
gold.
Yeah. And that's a part of the process. I feel like in becoming a man, in becoming your own man, and a fully fledged professional fighter. Um, I feel like you almost need that process to forge you and to fortify your character. Because when you go into the gym every day to develop and you're working your ass off, and you feel like you're being blocked, or there's the path that should be laid out isn't laid out, or there's doors are being closed. It fortifies your character. You have to knuckle down and um and almost think by any means necessary. You're gonna kick down the doors, and that's what I feel I've done over the years, and I feel it has forged me into a better fighter. Um, it's hardened my mentality in the sport, and I feel like you need to learn with experience. No one can tell you something and prepare you for the reality of the sport. You have to go and experience it.
So you're kind of in a sadistic sort of way. You're kind of grateful for the character building that it's given you, made you what you are now.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you wouldn't choose if someone's laid out different paths for you, and this one's more difficult and it's harder, but it's on reflection, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I know that I needed this type of process to forge me into the fighter I am, and yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the path that I've traveled.
I feel that, you know what, like I can relate in to, not from a boxing standpoint, but from a life standpoint is, I had like 4 or 5 very challenging years at a couple of points in my life, but I'm grateful for them now because they allow you to see things, people a different way, and they allow you to become a more rounded person, I believe, and that's probably the
Definitely,
same with how you see the sport. Hey,
definitely.
so that crazy night in Tottenham a couple of months ago, is that giving you a taste for that kind of occasion?
100%, 100%. It's you know, more motivation. If I ever needed it to go in there at world level and wave the name high once again. Um, the Eubank name is back at the top of the sport. Um, and I plan on reinforcing that on July 5th at world level against Jack Catterall in Manchester.
Do you want those guys to fight again, or do you think move on? In fact, I've seen you say, right, you want Chris
Yeah,
to
I
fight
think
Canelo, right?
I think you can never recreate all the things that happened to make that such a special night. I don't think you can ever recreate again. I'd like to see Chris off the back of that spectacular show. Um, Go in there against Canelo and um, and do what he does.
Is that partly because you want to see him at 168 and you don't want to see him go back down to that weight?
Sorry, it's cracking up a bit.
Sorry, I said, is that partly because you want to see him? You still got me?
Got you.
Yep. Is that partly because you want to see him up at 168 and you don't want to see him go back down to 160?
Yeah, I don't want to see him drained. Last time out, he was a shell of himself in the ring. Um, all the weight and all the kind of, games that were played against him to try and make him the weakest version of himself in the ring. Um, that's not games that should be played in boxing. Um, I want to see him, fully fueled, go in there against one of the best in the sport in Canelo. I feel like he's earned that opportunity, defeating everything that was stacked against him the last time out. You know,
See,
and
yeah, no, yeah. Sorry, no, you were saying you'd like to see him fight Canelo and
yeah,
not have the same sort of stuff against him that he had last time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Is Senior going to be on the scene next week with you?
Most definitely. He's excited. Um, he's been calling for me to. He's been saying I'm ready to become world champion for the last 2 years. So it's this is the type of fight that will really place my name on the world scene. Ready to go in there with anyone in the world.
As part of the inner circle, were you in on that ring walk? Did you know what was going down?
Nah, no. So I mean, the fact that Senior came, I was still unaware until I see it play out, which was a beautiful moment. One of my favorite live TV moments I've ever seen. So much emotion. Um, but yeah, once I was in the dressing room, I could see him kind of pulling people to the side and telling them, we need this song here, and engineering that beautiful ring walk. Yeah, it was a night that will live down in history.
Yeah, of course. And what's your dream night? What does that look like? And where would it be? I know we've talked about the football stadium, right? And obviously you've got a decent football
Yeah.
team now, which is more than I can say for myself. But like you guys have been sort of flying high and sort of punching above your weight down there. Is that still the
Yeah.
dream? And do you have like a dream opponent? Are you looking at Riyadh? Do you want Vegas? Like, do you want all of that stuff,
Do you know
or
what? I'm just looking at what's in front of me, to be honest. Like, I'm ready to roll with the punches, but I wanna go in there and fight the best. And I'm not looking past Jack Catterall. I'm just looking at what's in front of me and going in there and putting on a performance and coming out victorious. And the rest, the rest is all waiting on the other side of
just with regards to Jack as well? And last one, because I appreciate it's getting kind of late, and you're probably a good sleeper like me.
it.
Um, is Jack quite a big jump for you in terms of quality, in terms of opponent?
I don't think so. Um, I think it's the right jump, the right step. I fought um, Timo Schwarzkopf 3 fights ago, two-time European champion. I was the first man to stop Timo, and Timo had also been in the ring with Jack. That's at European level. Um, when you go above that, you're going up towards world level, and Jack's been at world level. He's proved himself there, and yeah, that's the type of step I need now.
Yeah, perfect. Well, look, thank you so much for making the time to do that. I'm very excited to see this ring walk and ring entrance on Saturday next week.
uh,
I, I'll send you a video actually. I got it. I went what was it, sandboarding in Dubai with my
yeah,
son,
it's pretty
and
difficult. That I've tried it once. It's hard.
I got to the bottom and leveled out at the bottom, and then completely face planted. And the more I thought about that ring entrance that you did, that's exactly what I do. It's the sort of thing where you end up like a human scorpion with your feet over the
Yeah.
top of your head.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, in the sand dunes, that's a recipe for disaster.
yeah, it was tough. Not the bang my sternum, not the wind out of me. Thought
Oh
I was
yeah.
fighting again, but still, it's all good. It's
How's
all
your
good.
boy on it? Who's right?
He didn't crash anywhere near as spectacularly as me. But also like he had a couple of goes like that. I was one and done. I was
Okay.
one, and then after that, after stacking it, I'm like, I'm not doing it because I'll break
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And but with my son, like the first time he did it, he just went quite slow and steady and was like, got to the bottom, was like, was that it? And I was like,
Yeah,
no, you should be going way faster than that. And then I think they
yeah.
like greased it up and sent him down. And then he did stack it, but it wasn't like a great, it was just like, he just fell off sort of thing.
It wasn't a memorable face plant.
No, I'll send you this one in a bit. You'll like it.
Yeah.
So, all right, Harlem, look, thank you so
Nice one,
much for
Chris.
taking the time to do it. Really appreciate it. And speak to you soon and all the best for
Spot
next
on.
week.
Thanks, Chris.
Great.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
mate.
man. Take
Nice one.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.